In most countries, public transit is really basic. Stations that are marked with poles, buses that get stuck in traffic and are always late, complex and expensive booking systems and delayed trains that crawl around big cities. But what if there was a country that did transit better, that had a universal card system working everywhere, frequent and high-capacity systems that link even the smallest towns, even though it has a tiny population compared to other countries? This is the Netherlands, a country with a really small and spread out population, unstable soil and huge flood risks. And despite all of that, it has and it's building an absolutely amazing public transit system. Among many urbanists, Dutch public transportation isn't anything special. There are many cities with small or no rail public transit. Rapid transit like LRTs, metros and BRTs have a relatively low frequency, and trains have really slow speeds. Tracks outside of the HSL, which is the country's main railway network, do not even have limits higher than 140 km per hour, and those are all actual claims. So, except of urbanists, you're also gonna hear a lot of Dutch people complaining because ik kan niet klagen, maar ik doe het toch. And yeah, transportation in countries like Japan or South Korea is a mix of super frequent and fast heavy rail and domestic trains that really blur the waters between metros, domestic trains, etc. But speed isn't the only factor that shapes a great public transit system. Frequency and capacity are twice more important, and while rapid transit frequency in the Netherlands is low, frequencies between modes are quite consistent, where trams, LRTs, BRTs and metros tend to come every 5 to 10 minutes in rush hour, while buses and trains are around 12 to 15 minutes in rush hour. For example, there are trains between Amsterdam and Utrecht every 15 minutes, or between Rotterdam and Den Haag every 12 minutes. It's just that there is no 90-second automated metro or LRT systems like you'll find in nations, especially in Asia. And of course, rapid transit is not the only thing needed in a functional transit system. In much of Asia, for example, transit is exclusively bus systems, which no matter the frequency, the dedicated transit right of ways or the bus capacity still isn't near the maximum level of comfort a tram or LRT serves, which contributes to more walkable cities and something that Dutch and German cities tend to do significantly better. One thing that the Netherlands does better than any other country on this planet is transit cards, so maybe there's some alien civilization that developed it better. This is an Ov-Chipkaart scanner, and it's found on public transportation all around the Netherlands. We're talking trams, metros, trains, buses and ferries all around the country, which is impressive and very comfortable. You can show up to a platform anytime, scan your Ov-Chipkaart and hop on any transit, and if you thought that was impressive, you can load discounts onto your personalized OV, connect it so it automatically charges from your credit card, and you can even just use a contactless payment card if you're not staying in the Netherlands for long. Now, there are many countries that have similar cards, like the Deutschland ticket in Germany, which allows you to get onto any low-speed train, Straßenbahn, Stadtbahn, S-Bahn or U-Bahn in the entire country. But it is subscription-based and you cannot board high-speed trains, so they all have their limitations. Speaking of high-speed trains, it's not that the Netherlands doesn't have high-speed services, they are just focused on the HSL, the main railway line. In fact, there are many international high-speed trains, like in the Eurocity Direct, which travels around 200 km per hour on upgraded tracks, but also ET and Eurostar trains that can reach up to 300 km per hour in some segments. I've happened to take a lot of trains through the HSL and I can tell you it is a reasonably fast experience. You can get from Amsterdam to Paris or London in around 3 hours. To Düsseldorf or Brussels in around 2 hours. Also, because as I mentioned before, Dutch population is spread really evenly, the Netherlands is a really dense country with medium-sized cities every few tens of kilometers. So on railway lines without any direct services, sprinters in the cities will have reached a stop before accelerating to a higher speed than 140 kilometers whatsoever. There are 3 kinds of domestic train services, by the way. The Intercity Direct, which only run on express lines like the HSL and connect the biggest cities like Amsterdam or Rotterdam. Then we have some intercity services, which stop at any city in their way, as well as some large towns. And last but not least, there are sprinter services, which stop at every station in their way, no matter if it's a big city or a village. Their name is rather confusing though. The idea was sprinting between small distances because the sprinter trains have fast acceleration, but it often gets misunderstood by tourists as the fast trains because of their names. At least tourists don't complain as much, they have to complain about the bicycles in Amsterdam. But at the same time, trains alone do not tell us the full story. They are a backbone of national travel, yes, but how well they connect to the urban landscape is just as important. The Dutch network is designed to link cities together quickly, and once you step off the station, you usually have a strong onward connection. In the Randstad, for example, it is almost impossible to avoid a train connection that connects smoothly to trams or even metros in larger cities. This makes the Netherlands stand out as a place where the last mile is often solved more elegantly than in other countries. Yet this picture isn't universal. While trains form a dense web across the country, not every city has the same level of local rail infrastructure. And this contrast is where the Dutch system becomes especially interesting, and where it isn't just a city decision problem, but a fundamental misunderstanding or misusing of the latest rail public transportation technologies. The reason has to do with how most cities build public transit. Large cities like Amsterdam or Rotterdam will build a tram network for the city center and less populated areas, and then a metro system for dense suburbs and neighborhoods. And that is fine, since those cities will typically be too big to expand further anyways. But this is a model for an already big city that is trying to use transit to bring things closer. The problem is that smaller cities also have a very good model, which is sustainable, both environmentally but also majorly financially. But it has never been implemented. There is only one small city by worldwide standards that ever did that, and still hasn't taken the exact correct steps to consider it a perfect plan. This is Utrecht. It's the fourth largest city in the Netherlands. It has around 350,000 people, and in the 1980s, Utrecht decided to build something more than a tram, a Rodees LRT. They built it to urbanize the area around the line, and until the new suburb of Nieuwegein. It wasn't quite as good as it is today, but its success was massive. Within the next 15 years, the area around the line was unrecognizable. Along with the branch to IJsselstein, the line has been upgraded today into a proper LRT, with less frequent stations, urbanized hubs, traffic signal priority everywhere, and there are even many intersections where bars seal the crossing. In 2020, the line was expanded significantly into the new university campus in the Uithof, and it significantly transformed the area around it as well. It is important to recognize though that all these suburbs used to be completely separate towns and villages, and that the city expanded around the line instead of the line serving the city after traffic has become unbearable. Utrecht's LRT serves an important spine in the city, and yet it's not perfect. As part of the Utrecht 2040 mobility plan, the line will undergo significant upgrades. A new express line will be built from Utrecht Centraal Centrumzijde by the new neighborhood of Merwede and into Nieuwegein. The line will be completely separated at parts underground, without any tight turns such as the one in Utrecht Centraal Centrumzijde. It is not yet planning to replace the existing line, but it could potentially in the future if demand for the other line decreases significantly. Around 2040, the Merwede line will also expand to Rijnenburg, where a new suburb will also be built, serving 4 new developments with a single line. At the same time, a new high-speed branch of the existing line will have been built, one that will avoid the Centraal Station and instead pass to Hooggraven, pedestrianizing many streets along the way and boosting the local economy. Lastly, tight turns will be removed from the Uithof line, and it will finally extend to the town of Zeist or Station Driebergen-Zeist. Essentially, this will eventually be a single line, and yet it will serve more than twice the expansion any metro or simple tram system has ever allowed.
Stadion Galgenwaard. Next stop, Galgenwaard Stadium.
And there are many cities in the Netherlands and all around the world that could do the same. Groningen, Eindhoven, Tilburg, Almere, Breda and way more cities could build an LRT elevated line and spur development along the line towards 2 close suburbs. But one question that I also hear sometimes is, should or can this LRT model be implemented into big cities? And the answer is, it depends on what we consider a big city. With Dutch standards, for example, London in Ontario would be considered a big city. And to be clear, it is a city with potential to build a good public transit system really quickly if there is enough political will. A transit station generally should not have more than 800 meters from somebody's destination, otherwise it's inconvenient to ride it. Thus, to cover a city that has sprawled towards every side, we would need an incredibly amount of lines, and we would need many connections too. Now, that doesn't mean it's not possible. There are many cities like Berlin, Vienna and Paris that are really close to that. But it does mean that it would take a significantly bigger amount of time and effort. Thus, way more political will as well, and way more time for the average resident. LRTs are generally more useful as a spine, not as surface transit. So trams and metros are generally more convenient in large cities than LRTs. Though LRTs can be used to connect the city with new neighborhoods that are not dense enough for a metro. Such an example is the tram/LRT to Eiburg in Amsterdam. Also, we could urbanize a specific corridor in the city and ruralize the rest. But that's usually only possible on paper, since it would drastically shake up the city's economy. But what we can do is prevent more sprawling right now. Like as we speak. No? Fine, you'll pay the double prices. Now seriously, there are countless cities in the world that could benefit from that, and in many unique ways. The hilly city of Lausanne in Switzerland, for example, has built a fully working automated metro/funicular from the city centre to the neighboring towns. We need way more small cities to build LRTs, and this can also majorly help eliminate the housing crisis, but that's a topic for a future video. It could also significantly reduce traffic congestion in the existing town or prevent it in the future. And of course, it would get people out of big cities and into smaller towns, even villages. But we need to start now. Like as we speak. I won't take a no this time. Oh man. But there are also really good bus systems, even at cities with an LRT. In Utrecht, for example, a few years ago a significant part of the city centre received many dedicated bus lanes. While lots of traffic lights now have traffic signal priority. And a new transit ring to the Utrecht-Ov-Chipkaart neighborhood is soon gonna be constructed. The city of Gouda boasts a well-developed public transportation system, making it convenient for both residents and visitors to navigate the city and its surroundings. And I especially like the amazing connectivity with the train, though I prefer the Gouda T's than the Gouda buses. And you can get some really good deals at the market. Also, I found the Randstad buses really good, with amazing connectivity throughout the entire region. And there are of course replacement buses, such as this one that used to go from Delft to Den Haag when the tramline was still under construction. Though unfortunately, it ran on this Fietsstraat full of speed bumps. So it wasn't the best passenger experience. Something that many people find fascinating is how frequent bus services to villages often is. In most countries, villages are built on a quite narrow rural road, and most of the houses are directly off it. But in many villages in the Netherlands, the houses are located in side streets of busy distributed roads. Which means that of course they will have more frequent bus service. For example, this is the village of Utrecht, with a population of only 275 people. And yet, because it is built on quiet streets that end on the distributor road, there is bus service every 12 minutes. And there's even bicycle parking at the bus, so you could park and ride the bus. But generally, buses have a lot of restrictions, and one of the main problems is access to pedestrianised areas. For example, in the city of Groningen, there used to be buses right through the city centre, and it was really scary for pedestrians and cyclists. But now they are pedestrianizing the entire city centre into a big plaza. Which sure looks charming for sure, but it means that accessibility for those who can't walk or roll far away is essentially decreased. On the other hand though, a tram runs on tracks, so it is expected where it will go. Thus it can be installed in pedestrian areas like here in the Amsterdamse Leidsestraat, or here in the Rotterdamse Lijnbaan, or here in Den Haag, I don't remember the street name. And you can also use an LRT or metro, provided that elevators are maintained and not breaking down every 3 minutes. I'm looking at you, Athens. Now, it's not that the buses aren't useful in the city centres, they are. Here is the road of Vredenburg in Utrecht, for example. It is still in the city centre, but it clearly focuses on transport rather than local traffic. Which is why it's technically a road, even though it has no private vehicle access. You can see this 4.5 wide busy cycleway, and this busy pedestrian crossing. As the street turns into Lage Veerstraat, it interacts with Nuiden, and its goal is not moving people, and similar with the area around the Domkerk. Generally speaking though, the magic of Dutch public transit isn't in the frequency or the speed, is that it kinda just works. You can hop on a train in Utrecht by tapping your OV, and be in Rotterdam in less than an hour. And from there, you can hop on multiple buses or ferries to attractions like Kinderdijk. And later you could go to Delft or the Hoek van Holland. And be back the same day without needing to look at any schedule. And whenever transit isn't convenient, that is in short distances, then cycling routes are everywhere, with detailed signage that will get you anywhere without needing to aggressively check Google Maps. But that's a topic for a future video. This combination of schedule-less public transit and awesome short distance infrastructure in the Netherlands truly makes you feel like a star walking through the streets. And if you ask me, this is what gives me this awesome daily freedom. Because a country where you have to think twice about everything is a country where you're trapped. If you've watched this video until here, you must really like my content, so subscribe to not miss out on any of my future videos and shorts. And if you'd like to see even more content, such as the one about the city Freiburg in Germany, the town of Houten in the Netherlands, or an island in Greece, subscribe to me on patreon.com/thetdailyfreedom. And until the next video, have a great day.